What's up, my dude? Your friendly neighborhood Tony here, and today I'm going to go over my 5 favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies of all time. If you are a frequent clicker-oner of my channel, you may have seen that I just recently uploaded my review of M. Night Shyamalan's latest movie, Knock at the Cabin. Of course, if you want to check that out, I'll link it at the end of the video. But now that he has a new movie that's come out, I think it's time that I update my own personal ranking of his movies. So if you want to see if Knock at the Cabin has made the top 5, well, you're in the right place. Also, your standard disclaimer, this is my personal ranking. These are my favorite movies, not necessarily his best movies, not necessarily the highest grossing movies or the most successful or the most loved or anything like that. These are my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies, and I have my reasons. So if you want to see more movie reviews, trailer reactions, or ranking videos just like this one, make sure you subscribe. All right, without further ado, we're going to start off with number 5, which is a movie that is probably going to get me some heat, and that is the 2008 thriller The Happening. Now, hold on. Don't click away. I have my reasons. Let me explain before you go. M. Night Shyamalan, in my view, is a binary director. Either he makes a movie that is completely incredible and is an instant classic and he totally knocks it out of the park, or he makes a movie that is so bad, that is so horrible, that is so poorly pieced together that it becomes great in its own way. And I think The Happening is one of my favorite bad movies ever. In my opinion, it is right up there, or I guess maybe down there with movies like The Room. And if you haven't seen The Room, then please do yourself a favor and watch it. Also, maybe I should do a top 5 favorite bad movies list. Let me know if you want to see that. But for those that don't know, The Happening stars Mark Wahlberg as, believe it or not, a science teacher. I'm not joking. You also have Zooey Deschanel, who plays his wife, and John Leguizamo, who plays his friend, who is also kind of like a math savant. The movie kind of kicks off when people start dying or committing suicide at an alarming rate, and the news and the governments aren't really sure what's going on. And you end up following Mark Wahlberg and a few others as they are trying to uncover exactly what's going on with the world. And I don't want to spoil for you exactly what happens in the end, but oh boy, it is something special. And to be fair, the movie was marketed so well. I remember watching the trailers and the commercials and the ads, and it really drew you in and had you wondering what in the world is going on. So when that reveal finally happened, ooh, what a time to be alive. It is truly one of the best worst movies ever made. And say what you will about the B-movie nature of The Happening, it may not be up your alley, but one thing you cannot deny is some amazing memes that have come out of this movie.
What? No.
So yeah, go ahead. You can fight me in the comments, but this is my personal opinion. I love The Happening, and it comes in just under the wire at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is a movie that I think is a little more popular, and that is the 2002 sci-fi horror movie Signs. Signs stars Mel Gibson pre his breakdown and being kind of piece of crap, as a former priest who discovers a series of crop circles in his cornfield that he has. You also have Rory Culkin, yeah, that's right, little brother to Macaulay Culkin, and Abigail Breslin, who play his kids, and Joaquin Phoenix, who plays, I think, his brother or his brother-in-law, I forget, but either way, he's there as well, and he is a former AAA baseball player. Again, Signs came out in 2002 and was right on the heels of M. Night Shyamalan's first 2 major pictures, The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. So this would have been the third and honestly kind of the last movie in M. Night Shyamalan's ridiculous run in the late 90s and early 2000s. I mean, say what you will about M. Night Shyamalan and some of his later movies, but you cannot deny that in the early 2000s, having a back-to-back insane success with his movies that have become instant classics has shown that he is a legit, really good writer and director who really swings for the fences with every movie that he comes out with. Some of them amazing, knock it out of the park. Other ones, big whiff. With Signs, though, I feel like he did an incredible job taking on the kind of alien invasion trope and showing it from a pretty small perspective of just this family living on this farm. And even though we spend most of our time in this kind of secluded area with this one family, you really get a feeling for the scope and scale of everything that's going on around the world. Honestly, one of the best alien invasion movies, basically proving that you don't need to show the White House getting blown up by a laser. Not to say that that wasn't awesome in Independence Day, but you don't have to show something on that scale to get people invested in this kind of sci-fi thriller. Okay, next up on the list, coming in at number 3, we are going to backtrack a couple of years to the 2000s superhero thriller called Unbreakable. Unbreakable stars Bruce Willis as David Dunn, who is a former high school football player who has since survived a train crash without a scratch. This brings him to the attention of Samuel L. Jackson's character, known as Mr. Glass, who himself suffers from brittle bone disease. He was actually born with both his arms and legs broken, which is rough. So after the monstrous success that was The Sixth Sense, this movie solidified that M. Night Shyamalan was legit. Super legit. Too legit?
I used to be legit. In fact, I was too legit. But now, I'm not legit.
Although it was marketed as another psychological thriller like The Sixth Sense, it really was much, much more of a superhero story, of an origin story, a realistic origin story of what it would be like to discover that you had superpowers. And being that it came out in 2000, it may have been a little bit ahead of its time. At that point, we were just getting the X-Men movies and didn't have and wouldn't have any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies for another 8 years, I think. So we weren't in a place where the world was super familiar with seeing superheroes on screen. Whereas if a movie like this were to come out now, where the world is much more familiar with these origin stories, I think it would have been even better received, being kind of a unique take on that plot that we've already seen now a dozen times. But either way, Unbreakable was very well received. It made a lot of money in the box office. And some 16 years later, we would get a sequel to it in what is my number 2 movie on this list. That is the 2016 psychological thriller Split. Now, this is a movie, in full disclosure, that I only saw recently. Of course, I've known about it ever since it came out, but I just never really got around to it. And holy crap, it blew my mind. So Split stars James McAvoy, as well as James McAvoy, and about 20 other versions of James McAvoy. See what I did there? His character has DID, or dissociative identity disorder, which is a disorder that's kind of in question with a lot of psychologists. There's a lot of back and forth as to whether or not it's a legitimate illness, if people can actually have multiple personalities, and if so, how that reveals itself in their day-to-day. But either way, his character has 23 different personalities, all living inside of his body. Also in the movie, you have Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays a high school girl who is kidnapped by James McAvoy along with a couple of her friends. And I won't spoil exactly what happens in the movie, but I will tell you something that I feel like is just common knowledge now, which is that this movie is essentially a sequel to Unbreakable. It's a bit of a stealth sequel, is how they put it. So you'll watch the entire movie and you don't really know that it's connected, but towards the end, it is revealed that there is a connection. It takes place in the same universe. And I hope that's not a spoiler. I feel like that's just common knowledge at this point, like knowing that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. But despite being connected to Unbreakable and being a sequel to it, this movie completely stands on its own. It reminds me of 12 Cloverfield Lane, which is obviously connected to Cloverfield, the movie, but it doesn't really have to be connected. It takes place in the same universe, but is its own unique and individual story. Also, we should know that in 2016, when this movie came out, M. Night Shyamalan had been on a skid for a while. Honestly, over 10 years, maybe 12 years, he had just come out with a miss after miss after miss until The Visit, which came out right before Split, and that was more positively received and kind of gave people the idea that, hey, maybe he's back. And then, of course, following it up with Split, we were sure he was back. So this is truly a return to form for him. In addition to M. Night Shyamalan doing a great job with this movie, James McAvoy knocked it out of the park. He is so good in this movie, and it blows my mind that he was not nominated for an Academy Award. I mean, truly, this character that he gets to play, or I should say these characters, is an actor's dream role. He is just given carte blanche to just go ham and really dig his teeth into all of these different aspects of this person's personality, or really not even aspects of this person's personality, but rather these different people in the same body. Split, in my opinion, is a damn near perfect movie. I have a couple of small nitpicks with it, but that's really just my personal preference. There's a couple of things. One thing that is a bit of a red herring that I remember watching and feeling a little disappointed by, but again, just my personal opinion on that. It didn't bother my girlfriend who also watched it with me, so that's just me. But overall, Split is a fantastic movie. You don't have to watch Unbreakable before watching Split, but it is a bit of a bonus if you were one of those people that watched Unbreakable back in 2000. And that brings us to the number one movie on my list of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies. Before we get to that though, if you are enjoying this list, do me a solid, drop a like on the video. And if you want to support me and the channel, the only way I'm making any money on this channel is if you scroll down to the description box, I have an Amazon affiliate link. So if you plan on buying anything on Amazon today, if you go through that link, it helps me out. But with all that panhandling out of the way, number one on my list is, of course, the 1999 psychological thriller, The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense also stars Bruce Willis as a child psychologist this time, but more specifically, a psychologist to Haley Joel Osment's character who can see and talk to dead people all the time.
I see dead people all the time.
This movie was really the first major motion picture by M. Night Shyamalan. He had done an independent film before this, as well as a small family drama movie with Rosie O'Donnell that you probably haven't heard of. But this movie was what I would consider, what many would consider his big break, where he was able to write and direct it and really show what he's capable of. And a couple of fun facts about this movie. In 1999, The Sixth Sense was the second highest grossing movie of the entire year, right behind, check this out, Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. I'm not joking. This movie, from a director that nobody really knew at the time, was able to go on and earn more money than every other movie in the year of 1999, which was a massive year for movies, except for, of course, Episode 1, which, I mean, come on, that was probably the most anticipated movie of all time. Not bad for somebody who's just getting started. It was also nominated for 6 Oscars. Yeah, that's right, 6 Academy Award nominations, although it didn't win any of them, which is very strange, but I guess it happens. I think it's safe to say that as far as all of M. Night Shyamalan's movies that he's come out with, The Sixth Sense is definitely the most iconic. There are so many lines and moments from that movie, and of course, big twists that I guess I won't spoil in case you don't know it, but there's so much that happens in this movie that has just become part of the movie zeitgeist, that if you know film and if you've ever heard of M. Night Shyamalan, then you know about The Sixth Sense. And truly, for me, watching this for the first time back in 1999 as a kid in a movie theater, I had never seen anything like this. It opened my mind to what was possible with movies and with storytelling in a way that no other movie had done before, or really almost since. This was a groundbreaking film for me specifically, and I can't imagine M. Night Shyamalan coming out with another movie that is going to knock this out of my top spot. It truly was monumental. It is a legendary film, and it is one of the most impactful movies, I think, of all time. But of course, this is all just my personal opinion. I'm just some dude on the internet. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What are some of your favorite and maybe some of your least favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies? He's definitely got a few of those. Let me know your ranking in the comments below. And of course, if you want to see more ranking videos just like this one, make sure you subscribe. All right, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Be good.